The Christmas capital of Texas, December 18th, Historic Preservation Meeting, and I'll call this meeting to order. And any person who is not scheduled on the agenda may address the Historic Preservation Commission under citizen comments for up to 3 minutes by completing a citizen appearance request form in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. And the commission is restricted in discussing or taking action during the citizen comments. And if you're here to speak under citizen comments, please come forward to register now with the secretary, Ms. Casey, and we'll call you forward to speak in order you have registered. And Ms. Casey, do we have anybody registered?
Yes, we do, one.
Okay, and that's Ms. Peggy?
Yes, for the case CA 2463.
Okay, Ms. Peggy, we'll hold you till we get to that specific case. Any other citizen comments in general?
We just had one other letter of concern, but David was able to address it earlier today.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Before we get down to our item number 3 on the work session, I want to introduce one of our council liaison, Paul Selecta. Thank you for being here always, Paul. Recently had a birthday this week. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Matthew Boyle, our city attorney. PW needs no introduction, but I'll do it anyway. And Monica Hoteling is our P&Z liaison. So always thankful that you're here. Thank you. Commissioners, thank you for braving the parking. Your volunteer work here is greatly appreciated, and you always do such a good job. Hopefully everybody found a good place to park. We were all here on time, so it looks like it. Takes us down to item number 3, David. If you'll walk us through the staff-approved CAs.
Okay, the first one is CA 2448A. This is for the property at 324 South Church Street. It was the materials to be utilized on the house, also the siding and the paint colors and paint scheme. The next one is CA 2462. This is for the property at 820 East Texas Street in the DE Box edition, and it was for some adjustments to the commission-approved floor plan that allows the house to fit, the new additions to fit properly in the BZA-approved side yard setbacks. The next one is CA 65 for 820 East Texas Street. There was addition of 2 windows that were staff approved on the side of the building facing the side driveway. On this
2465?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
The next one is CA 2467 for the property located at 221 West College Street, known as the Dabney Lipscomb, Dr. Dabney Lipscomb House. This is for a paint color change to the house, and the color that was selected is a navy color that was from the Benjamin Moore Historic Paint Palette. It would be used to paint the house, the body of the house. The trim would remain the same alabaster color, but the house would go from being gray to kind of a dark navy blue. And the new owner wanted to make this change. The next one is for 852 East Texas Street, which is the original Joe and Cecilia Box house built in 1952 on at 852 East Texas Street. And this is to approve clay tile that would cover the front porch. The existing tile was damaged, and this is new tile to replace that tile. And then the last one is for 404 East Franklin, the construction of the fence around the back part of the property on this landmark property.
Thanks, sir. You got 20, is that the last one?
That's the last one.
All right,
That
perfect.
concludes.
Takes us down to item number 4. We got 2 cases tonight. Before I open the public hearing, a member of the public may address the Historic Preservation Committee regarding an item on the agenda during the commission's consideration of the item upon being recognized by the chairman or consent of the commission. Upon being recognized, please come forward to the podium, state your name and your address before speaking. And again, in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, the commission is restricted in discussing or taking action during your comments. I now declare the public hearing open, and we'll discuss CA 2457 403 East Worth first.
Okay. This is for the historic 1933 Gold House at 403 East Worth Street. The new owners of the property want to renovate and enlarge the existing 22 by 24 foot detached 2-car garage. The work would include a 22 square foot bump out on the first floor, and then creation of just storage area on the second floor. So there, or up above the garage, right? There's not really a floor, but it's upstairs area. So there'd be a staircase added inside. So this necessitated moving the garage door over, but the footprint of the garage would remain the same, but the roof line would be changed, as you'll see here in a minute. And then, so staff is recommending approval of this work, which follows the design guidelines for the property and the maximum, it's all within the maximum square footage for the property. Property needs no special approvals by BZA or planning and zoning. It's just a regular approval process. So this was turned in back in October 8th by Frank Cordier for the renovation of this structure. The proposed plans were prepared by Russell Moran following the design guidelines and meeting the requirements of the 2013 Historic Preservation Ordinance update. The total living area of the existing house is 3,373 square feet, which is less than the maximum of 3,400. That's all on one level. And then the garage currently, this was an existing garage when the house project was done. So it's over the regular 500 square feet. It was already at 539 square feet. So a variance is recommended for the bump out of the 22 square feet to the garage on the first floor, which would come from the square footage allotment for a storage building, because this does not have a storage building. And that's also why they're going up, because the ground already is laid out in a certain way. There's really not a place to build a storage building, so there's it would just be up above the garage. So the preservation officer, building official, and director of the CDB recommend for this variance. Here's the photos of the existing garage, which is there by the swimming pool. There's the plans and how it looks currently. And then this would be how it would be improved by reworking the entire roof line in the upper portion. The pedestrian access door remains in the same place. The garage doors shift down. The same garage door would be used. It would just be moved down. There'd be an opportunity to put a little window there, as you see on the front elevation. And then the dormers would be added to the roof line. So a little more on the square footage analysis. So the lot here is a large lot. It's 10,340 square feet. The lot coverage with the bump out would bring it to 38%, which is within the 40% maximum allowed. The total impervious area would be 59%, which is within the 60%, which is allowed. The exterior siding and trim materials of the garage would match those of the house, and the garage would be painted in a color to match the color scheme of the house. So staff is recommending approval of these changes to the existing garage. Again, this is a project to create more storage. They have downsized from a different property to this property, and while it's meeting their needs, it's not enough for storage. So this is storage. This is not like more living area or anything. This is, and I'm sure they'll explain about that. But so that's pretty much it.
Thank you,
That
David.
completes my presentation on that.
Appreciate that.
Do you have questions?
Yeah, would the applicant like to make any comments? Don't have to, just open to.
Hi, I'm Frank Koger, and that's the plan. Are there any questions?
Commissioners have any questions?
It's just a storage, because we moved from Mansfield and had a bigger house, and we had tons of storage there, and it's a beautiful house. We love living here, but we just don't have room, and we have storage areas now and stuff, so we'd like to get everything at our house, and she has a lot of Christmas stuff.
Perfect, thank you.
But any
Hearing no questions,
I
thank you.
actually do have a question. What is the distance between I guess the west side of the property to the fence line? I'm just concerned about the dormers overlooking the neighbor's backyard.
There is, it's six.
After, with the bump out, it'll still be 6.
Okay,
But it was like 8.
Yeah, it was a little over 8 now, and it's just 2 feet
okay.
or so.
Okay.
And is there an easement from the rear of the property to use to drive, or is that gonna be just a really narrow driveway?
That's already existing.
Yeah, the driveway's
I was
already,
just quite curious.
Yeah, there's 6 feet behind the existing garage. Garage
Okay, and
was
you can
existing
access the garage
from the
that way.
driveway, from the
Yeah.
driveway.
Okay.
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you very much. Anything else, commissioners? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Thank you. Second, all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Any other discussion? Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve with conditions, CA 24-57.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Thank you. Takes us to item B on our public hearing. This is CA 24-63. Mr. Klimpin, would you present
Okay.
713 East Texas?
Okay, this is for the historic Harrington House, which was a small home that was greatly enlarged about 7 years ago, I believe, by Larry France and his partner. It's built around a existing natural tree that was native on the site, and so a lot of care and effort went into preserving that tree. And so now this background on this is that this CA was presented October 21st by Larry France, the current owner, to construct a new 2-car detached garage in the rear yard of the house. This garage would open directly to a paved apron and then be accessed from the rear of the, there's an existing alley easement in the back, so it would be accessed from the rear of the property. So this kind of shifted over there by itself, but I want to show you, point out on this first one, this aerial view where the site is. And immediately behind it is a condominium building that is designed, it looks as though it's row houses, like you believe it's row houses, but it's really a condominium project that was done some years ago. And it has a concrete drive that you enter to access the individual houses from Wood Street. So if we switch over here, this white-looking document on the left-hand side, that's a plat showing that property, Lot 9R, and I'll have to kind of, if you look really closely at it with me, this subject property, the house, and if you look on the right-hand side, there's the aerial view of this house, the way it currently is on lot 11. Immediately behind the property line, it's a dedicated alley, which is city property, belongs to the city. And when the developer of the condominium project worked on this, they asked for and received permission to build the driveway to access these properties in a portion of the alley. So a portion of the alley that's built in. So if you see the dotted line, that's like the edge of the pavement for the driveway that accesses down to the front entry of those individual units. So also, if you look closely at that in your packet, it's also a dedicated 24-foot fire lane. So you cannot park along that side of that driveway. It's dedicated for, like a fire truck has to be able to come in there at any given time. It's a fire lane with the city. Now, this is not, it's a driveway coming in off of Wood Street. So this garage would then you'd enter the garage from that driveway of that parcel of ground. But because that's an alley, legal access is provided, because that was an agreement was done with the, originally with the condominium builder, that they asked to build into this. So therefore, all of these properties on here, 9, 10, and 11, and the next property, which is actually apartment building, has legal access to use that alley, even though it has a driveway on it. So it's, let me move on. Hang on just a second. I think I got another. Here's a picture. I'm gonna walk you through this a little further. Here's how the house looks from the street, and it has like an access way, or what this was previously to this. The owner would park their car. It's sort of a tandem carport. I think you can barely get two. You could get 2 cars down in there. So that's how they were using it. But the home is for sale because the owners have moved to New Mexico. And they've had people looking at the house, but people are wanting to have a garage. The desire by the property owner, Larry France, is to retain that tree in the back. So he's proposing here in this plan to utilize that rear access from that alley, legal access in the back, to build the garage. So this is sort of how it looks. When you look down through there, through the pergola, it opens up, and then that's sort of what you see from the pergola going to the back. In the back is an existing storage shed that was there already before this house addition project was built. So the proposed garage would take the place of that structure. It would take that spot right there. So this proposal is to construct this garage, and it's a rather smaller garage, which you'll see in a moment, but it's 410 square feet in the rear yard, and then it would proposed to have the apron connecting to the paved rear alley easement. Here is an aerial view, like looking from the other direction back at this. I would point out that it's fairly unlikely that any of these other properties would want to try to also use this access, because, as you see, one has a garage that opens out to the side street. The next, coming from Wood Street, the next one has a pool there. And then on the other side of this subject property, where the apartments are, this is the property where it's planned. There's a developer working with the owners to eventually purchase this and build 2 very fine individual homes, like 2 nice homes on either, and where each of those 2 apartment buildings are right now. And that would be 2 lots, and that's a larger lot. It's over 60 feet wide, each one of those. So they would not need access like the same way that this one is very tight in here. So they would access likely from the front. So here is the plan of how this looks, and there's an image of how it would look, the building would actually look. I also have plans of it I'll show here in a moment. So let's just look at the site plan for a moment. So you can see that the placement of it, it's 6 feet from the side and 6 feet from the rear of the property line. And they are able to do that. There's not a requirement for a 20-foot setback from the rear, because that is when you're opening to a street. So this is not opening to a street, but it's opening to a driveway. So this is an acceptable setback distance that's allowed by zoning. And then this also it's like 1 2/3 car garage. I mean, because the one length is 17 feet, the other is 20 feet. So it's about 3 feet shy. There's like a little jog in it that the people that are interested to buy this have one larger vehicle and one smaller vehicle. So that would work there. I also, in the plans, which here we go with the plans, you can see where it says rear elevation, that's what you would see on the back of the garage opening onto that existing driveway that's to the rear. There's the two side views, and then also the other front side that you'd see from the house itself. So, and then on the same, everything's on this one drawing, so you can see the garage. There's like roll-up doors on the back side, and then potentially folding doors on the inside of the lot. So basically, that's how that would look and appear. That's your roof plan and your floor plan. So it's on the small side in terms of garage, so it's more petite. It's more like the small buildings that went with these houses originally. As you see, it has decorative trim and woodwork, has a little overhang, little protective awnings on the front and the back, which are quite attractive. And the look, it would be like this image right here, this rendering of how that would be. So it's fitting. That house does have some of these little awnings on the original house. A little bit more on the square footage. I'm going to walk you through here some more. So right now, the total living area of the house itself is 2,560 square feet, which is within the maximum of 3,400 square feet allowed by the ordinance, and the proposed garage is 410 square feet, which is less than 500 square feet that would be allowed for the garage. This lot is narrow. It's 7,000 square feet in size. The lot coverage with the garage would be 36.7%, which is within the 40% maximum allowed. The total impervious area of the site is 3,338 square feet, which is equals 48.4% coverage, and maximum 60%. So it's still well under, the maximum coverage. It's making room for that big tree. Like there's a lot of space around that tree. It follows our standards of rehabilitation for historic structures, our 10 criteria, which we look at, and it's in compliance with that. The exterior siding and trim materials of the garage would match those of the house, and then the garage would be painted to match the color scheme of the house. So that's pretty much all about this. I want to go back to this portion here. I do want to point out on there so that you can clearly see a couple things back on this plat of the parcel immediately behind. So you can see the dedicated alley. You can see where the dashed lines are. That's the lines of the driveway that the developer built to serve the condo buildings. And you can see that it's built into and over the alley access. So because that is built that way, each of these properties could have access to this legally. So as I pointed out, it's likely this would be the only one that would ever be likely, requesting that. But I mean, that's what we see of today. So then I want to really point this one out, is that is a dedicated fire lane. So the whole length of that is a fire lane. So like if they get to the point, if they build this, they'd have to coordinate with the construction vehicles. I do see, since there's access from the front, it may be that they carry quite a bit of materials in from the front of the site instead of blocking things to the building in the back. That would have to be worked out, but they certainly cannot park their construction vehicles along there, so they're probably going to have to park in the front, and find a workaround, or there would be probably access when they would put a foundation in off of that driveway, but that's all for the building department. That has to be dealt with by the building department. That's not our purview. Our purview, we are looking at the placement of this garage and its appearance and how it works with this property and works with the township.
Thank you, David.
So that
Is the
pretty much
applicant,
completes my.
is the applicant here to make any comments?
The applicant is not here. They are living in New Mexico, but they've worked with this architect before, so they had these plans prepared the way they would like to
Okay.
present them. And then they asked to have this presented. They submitted it directly to us, asked to have us presented. I want to also assure you that historic preservation staff worked with each of the departments. We worked closely. We looked into this because that's the only reason I can explain it to this degree is we looked at it very carefully. So we met with the Public Works, and that's where we learned about obtaining this plat from Public Works. We learned about these requirements and the fire lanes and what can and cannot be done to access this. So they have shared this can be accessed. We've also reviewed this with the Director of Planning and Zoning, Erica Moronic. Looked carefully at it. It meets all of their requirements. We've looked at it with the building official, Larry Gray. So all of those things, this fulfills all of those elements of the ordinance, and it's been reviewed, and we've reviewed it. Does not require a BZA case where it would, for any special aspects. So that's
Okay.
it. That's my basic presentation on that.
Any questions for David? Ms. Peggy, would you like to make some comments on this property? Please come forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just state your name and address, please.
Thank you. My name is Peggy Martinelli. I live at 223 Wood Street, Unit 201. I'm in the Diamondwood properties that are in question here behind the property that we're talking about. I am a director with the association, and what we are concerned about here, well, first of all, I'm going to say that we are disappointed that we were not notified of this project. I understand the law and the technicalities, but the fact that we live 10 yards from this property and we didn't get notice of this is something I think you need to maybe take a look at with the law. That aside, the owners had the opportunity when they redid this home to add this garage. I mean, it's a pretty no-brainer that they would want a garage. They have a single driveway. They have street parking, which is very crowded because there are apartments right next door to them. And so I understand that. Our concern is that this private drive that we thought was ours, I learned from my discussion with David earlier that there's a portion of it that is the city's and about maybe 15% of it. So that means the city has access. Well, we maintain it. So if this were to go to fruition and they were to build it and have access through the back, that means there's going to be construction that is going to disrupt our lives. This driveway is maybe a 2-car driveway. It's that at the best. So yes, there's a fire lane, but for me to pull out of my driveway to go somewhere with construction trucks, et cetera, is going to be an issue, as it would be for my neighbors. So that's a concern, in addition to all the stuff, you know, the dirt, the garbage, the blah, blah, blah. So that's part of it, but afterwards, we own 85%, we pay HOA fees, we maintain that driveway. This home is not gonna pay to maintain, and they're gonna use 20% of it. So we've got some concerns about the usage of the concrete. Concrete cracks, I mean, we all know, we've had our driveways do it, we've all had to pay for that, and that's not inexpensive. So our concerns are more about the access through our private drive to complete this construction. We would, if you are inclined to approve it, we would be more in favor of you approving it to have access through Texas Street and come in through the front. There's a tree that I know the neighbors are all think it's a pain in the neck, that they want to preserve. Okay, there's a lot of trees in the neighborhood, but the tree could go. It would be very easy to come in through the front, right into the 2-car garage in the back, and that way it would be a lot less disruptive for a lot of people. So we would strongly encourage you to, if you approve it, to do it so that it was constructed through the front of the property as opposed to the back of the property.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Peggy.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay.
I just have a comment about the alleyway, that most of us that live down in the historic district, we all share our alleyways, and they are, you know, there are multiple homes that share the alleyway, and we understand that they are city property, and but we also maintain it as well, individually, even though it is city property. So, you know, that's just part of living downtown.
Ours is not a drive-through. You can't, but there are a number of those drives that go between, for example, Dewey and Austin and Wood. Those are drive, I mean, a lot of people have access to those. The only people that go through ours are us. That's it. And then if this were to happen and the access would be in the back, they would also have access. But we own 85% of it,
I understand.
so we pay for it.
Other comments, commissioners? Questions?
I have a question for Matthew. Is it true that those alleyways are city-owned but maintained by the homeowners on each side? Is that accurate?
That alleyway is platted as a fire easement, a fire lane, a 24-foot fire lane to the north, and then a 15-foot alleyway right-of-way to the south. And that makes up the totality of that right-of-way.
Okay.
Did you have a comment, sir? Please come forward and.
Okay. Good evening. Andrew Coles. I live at 709 East Texas Street, so right next door to the property we're talking about here. Having not seen the plans or anything before, I'm concerned about the height of the garage, because I think the highest point of this garage is going to be right adjacent to our property. So just concerned about how that's going
Sure.
to look and the
Clempen.
impact on our backyard. Thank you.
We'll get you the height. One moment.
Thank you.
That's garage.
Yeah, the height of it.
The garage.
Just a moment. Just a moment. It's within the height,
The maximum height,
allow for
sure.
garages. And that looks a little bit steep right there, but in terms of the pitch, but it's something that's appropriate to the house. I don't think I actually put that in there. Hang on just 1 minute. I think it's about, I can't see exactly, but it's about 14 feet to the ridge, to the top of the ridge. But that's well within what's allowed for a garage.
Perfect, thank you. 14 feet. Did you hear that, sir? Yes, sir. Absolutely. Other questions or comments?
I do have a question. So the homeowners living in Mexico, they're selling this house. The goal is to put in the two-car garage for better resale, or?
They actually have a buyer.
They have a buyer
They
who wants
do,
the garage.
From what I understand. They have somebody seriously interested, and in fact, the rest of the story is, asked, Casey and I went to do a walkthrough with that particular, those folks that are interested to buy.
And you might not know all of these details,
Right.
but I don't know if an offer's been made.
They were a serious buyer.
And they've seen this design, and they're
Yes.
not going to come back to us in a month and say, ooh, we don't like this, let's change
Yeah.
it?
To my understanding, they've seen this, to my understanding. They understand that it's very limited, that's why it steps back, and all that was agreeable. They even went out and flagged it out to see what you could actually build back there. So
The potential buyer.
potential buyers, yeah. We spent probably an hour with them, but they spent a lot of time looking at the house and looking at the possible garage there.
Any other questions or comments before we close the public hearing? Yes, ma'am.
Regarding his concern with the pitch of the garage, what is the height of the residence? What is the height of the house? Because it is a two-story home, is that correct?
Yeah, I don't have that information in my packet right now, but it's also, the maximum height is like 35 feet, but it's probably about 28 feet at the
Okay.
most. So this is a lot lower than that.
Okay.
This clearly will appear to be an outbuilding that is appropriate size and scale to that house. It'll look good together, the two pieces.
I do have a quick point of clarification. So
Yes,
it would be
ma'am.
coming through Wood Street, right?
Yeah.
Getting rid of the cul-de-sac.
They would just, if we go back to this, you would enter this garage, like if you look at the site plan, just from the rear. I don't know if can you see the front where it says 713 East Texas? That's the front of the house on the site plan. Then you can see the new garage in the far back. And it would, you'd enter that garage from that rear. So when we go back to this, where you see lot 11, that's the back of this parcel. So you would turn in that driveway of the condominium building, and you would drive down that, and then you would turn south into the garage.
Thank you, David.
Also was discussed, a consideration could be to have a sliding driveway gate there as well, even though this design of this is fit to be viewed all the time. That's a possibility of having a sliding driveway gate like the fence, so it would slide across, you would not see it. That was discussed with the potential buyer and the owner. So that'll have to be worked out if they want that. That's not in this proposal right now.
Right.
This is just for the building itself.
Do you have one more thing, Ms. Peggy? Please come forward, please.
Come back, yeah, come back.
If you'll come to the microphone, that'd be great.
As it's designed now, is it designed to come in through our,
Yes.
so that door is facing my house?
Yeah, hold on.
So those doors are facing my house?
Actually, it's this,
Because there's a
The top right.
fence there and a
right.
kind of a bed that we've paid to
Yes.
put rocks and fix the sprinkler that's always breaking and crepe myrtles and,
This is the view that would be.
so that would
from-
face me.
Yes, yes. And
What are they gonna do with the fence?
a discussion was had about they may well want to have a sliding gate that would slide, so it could be slid across totally, you would not see it. So that's also into
Flip it around and come in through the front.
It's also a consideration.
That's all they need to do.
This is the view from the other side, so that actually, that little one I was showing you,
okay,
this
okay.
has like folding
That-
doors.
okay, got
This
it.
would have rolling doors.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, they need to flip it around.
Did they even consider extending the driveway through the pergola into the backyard?
Yeah, let me go back to the site plan. This is where that kind of, see, if you look at the distance to get there and then ability to turn around, it's almost impossible to drive down that way, back out, turn around the other way, or you're backing the length of the property, which is 140 feet. You're going straight in and straight out. So because of there's sort of like a little terrace there where the dotted lines are, little areaway that's level, but there's very little way to do that.
You just described how I have to get in my garage.
Okay. Hear you.
Any other comments? I entertain a motion to close the.
I had one
Yes,
more
sir.
comment.
Yeah.
What, I guess, would it be planning and zoning, or what assurance can we give them about the construction of it, and since it's a fire zone, all the construction workers and whatnot parking in there?
What I was
Driveway
sharing, what I know at this time is that because that's a fire lane, that can never be blocked. Those folks there, they can't pull their car out and leave it there. That has to be kept open, so the building department would regulate how they're going to access that site or have some aspect of say in that. We do not. We do not here in this body have any say in that. But that obviously could be worked out because you can see some kind of material, some aspect of this, like when they build the framing, they could haul the framing in from the front side, put that in there, but they need to get concrete trucks in, they need to come in probably from the back. That's not for us to look at. I can just obviously see that.
I got you, Ms. Peggy. Come forward, please.
There's some ways that could be.
Makes sense, David? Come forward, Ms. Peggy, to the microphone, please. Thank you.
What David is saying about the fire lane is true, so assuming that that's legal, that fire lane is whatever it is, this drive is literally 2 cars wide. So if you've got trucks parked on one side, not officially in the fire lane, I can't get out of my driveway very easily, and neither can my neighbors.
Understand.
Do you
Yes,
get what I'm
ma'am.
saying?
Absolutely.
You got trucks parked along here, it's gonna be some maneuvering. So it's gonna be an issue for us. It would be so, and they wouldn't have to mess with the fence, or they wouldn't have to have 2 doors, they could have 1 door, one on the front. Anyway, it would be so much easier to go through the front.
Back to the fire lane, it's a 24-foot fire lane. 24 feet are kept clear.
Thank you. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Had a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, motion passes. Commissioners, discussion, solutions? We're here to,
You know, of course, we're looking at the plans, trying to save a tree. There's not a guarantee the tree will survive
Right.
the construction. I don't know, is there a second?
Well, the tree is well away from the construction, well away from the garage. So the tree will continue as it is if this is built down in that location.
Another way-
Up to some point, up to some point.
we've got to look at this as, does the plans fit the ordinance
Yeah,
that
what
we're
we're looking at
uphold
is the
to?
design of the,
And unfortunate for the neighbors, it does fit our
It does.
our purview. That's the challenge, is hearing from our friends and neighbors and abiding by our rules. That's the challenge.
I can't think of a solution that wouldn't just shift the construction headache to a different neighbor.
Well, going through the front, though, on Texas Street, would it be, I mean, we have construction all over that part of the, just what's going on. So I don't know that that would be something, it would shift it, but it would shift it to where it's not, where people can't get out of their yard or out of their driveway. And one of the things that was talked about they'd have to bring in the equipment from the front, but then that's not enough for them to access if it went through the front. I don't know, there was something kind of confusing about that to me, and maybe that was just me, but it seems like we are shifting this problem to other people. And to your point, a tree, which the trees don't live forever, that's just not what happens. So I'm a little concerned about that, just from the standpoint of we're hearing a lot of opposition. And when you think about what we do, a lot of times it's within our ordinances, but also or within what we're trying to do here. But at the same point, we do often look at like the landscape of, are we peering into other people's property? Are we looking at other things? This is we're hearing right now that there's some concern, and I think it's long-term concern. It's usage, but it's also construction. That the construction's first, the usage is second. And then I think that's a little, that to me, that's just one of my concerns. I think it looks really nice. I like the way it looks. I just think that, you're going to impact a lot of people on that side.
When we look, I would like to bring this point back up, though. When we looked carefully at it out at the site, with some of the flags were put out where this exact configuration would be, I just don't see how you're going to really turn the car around in there because of the distances. This house has this long wing that comes all the way down. I think it's not very workable at all, even though, you could say, oh yeah, let's just do it that way. Well, the house is already at a size that you can't attach the garage to the house to make it be a legal entity. So it's kind of stuck with, to make it be able to work, it has to be a detached garage. And so the closer you make it, it can't really get any closer than it is. That's the only spot on the whole property you could actually build it. So you can't really move it forward. And then the whole design of the house was built around a side courtyard, which is west, which has the tree in it. So it changes everything about the property.
You're saying the way it is now, you don't see how they're going to pull in, or you're saying if they tried to go in from the front?
Trying to come in from the front,
Okay.
there's not enough.
You feel like where this configuration is really the only way?
Yes.
that you have a garage.
Right. Because
Pull up the front view of 713 East Texas, and you'll get a feel for,
It's tight through there.
it's really tight.
you're effectively
really
looking at
It's super
a
duper tight, and then it's 140 feet to the back. So,
there's no
even though
question
you
it'd be
couldn't
tough.
really back all the way back out, and then there's not a place to swing around and turn back around.
Is there a bump out? It looks like there's a bump out from the neighbor, coming through that, kind of that breezeway, like on that
Oh, right there?
fence.
No, that's their they built a little enclosure around their trash barrels.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it's actually where you see the fence, well, the property line's pretty much where that post is. They might have about another foot there,
Okay.
but, there's not much way. And the reason this is a pergola is because the ordinance will not allow a solid roof on that area. It can't be like a side carport. Can't build that. You can have a pergola. So the pergola actually has different functions, not just to put cars in.
Now, David, go back to the rear view of the property, which shows the new construction,
Like this.
and just getting a sense of where the commission is in regard to a fence versus a garage, and taking consideration to the neighbors of the Wood Street townhomes.
The new garage would be roughly in the same position as that existing short shed, which is 6 feet from the rear inside. It's a little more from the side, but That's where you'd see it pretty much.
Applicant didn't request a fence, but that's something that you will have to approve if they do.
If
I'm
they'd
just
like to
curious
put a
if,
gate across there, that would be something to be approved later.
What is the white building? Is that an extension of the house?
Yeah, that's just a reflection on the roof line of the house.
So
It
that's.
has
that's-
no, that little building
Let
is
me
a
explain.
small,
That's
a small
What
shed.
you're seeing on the left-hand side, there's a two-story portion of the house.
Okay, I'm looking at this
Okay,
one.
let me look.
She's pointing at the small shed, David, it's at the rear.
It's this right here.
This is the roof of the house. This is
Okay.
the upper roof here,
And that's the lower roof. And then
goes
this-
all the way out to here.
Okay, what is this?
That's
Just-
another little gable on the roof. That's the master bedroom.
Oh.
It has a gable
So the
going this
house
way.
goes all the way,
All
almost
the way
to,
there.
almost the entire lot.
Right, so that's really the only space.
Just
Yeah.
The garage site is really the only place you can do the garage.
It's a very creative solution to a problem. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is.
A lot of, the owner is sort of a landscape architect, or he's good at making things look good, which you can see in this house, but
Any other comments?
And they're determined to have a garage.
yeah, there's a buyer there that wants to buy and wants to have a garage. That's all I know. I mean, I'm just trying to tell you. And then the owner wants to have an approved garage that no matter who would maybe buy the building, you can have a garage.
I'm sorry, again, point of clarification, entering through Wood Street, correct?
Pardon me?
Through Wood
Yes.
Street?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Uh-huh.
I'm struggling with this whole thing being done by an owner we know is selling the house and banking on the
Well,
current buyers that will probably buy it if there's a garage and they don't want to without a garage, but then like, what if they don't?
Well, we're really not, that's not our purview here. Our purview is, this is a proposal. We have to take it
the
seriously
timing.
and look at it in terms of what it is that's being built. But it meets meets the requirements, does not need any special zoning, does not need BZA case. It's a legal proposal that we're charged to look at. You all are charged to look at it. The staff's recommending approval of it.
Not hearing any solutions, comments. I'm going to bring it to a vote in just a second, but I just want to give you one more opportunity to make any comments that. Okay. It's a tough one, but it does fit. I'll entertain a motion.
Between a rock and a hard place. I mean, they're both legitimate claims. It's just like.
Yep, they are.
Mr. Chairman, if it helps at all, just offer a quick little clarification as far as the prerogative of the commission. If this property was located anywhere else in the city, the applicant would have the right, by right, to install and construct this garage as it is. The only check to that, where it is being inside the district and protected accordingly, are that the proposed building must meet the applicable architectural standards applied to this district. When David wrote his memo, he concluded his memo that in fact it does meet the requirements of the 2013-23 Historic Preservation Ordinance. So this body is not charged with things like setbacks and the like, because those are already pre-established, and as long as the property owner is in compliance, then you are down simply to look at it from an appropriateness standpoint. And in fact, the action item that's before you today is to consider a certificate of appropriateness, and that vocabulary is intentional and limiting by the scope of the ordinance, and that is to assess and consider the appropriateness of the architecture of the structure that's before you as compared to the established guidelines that went with the district.
Thank you, Matthew.
I move we approve with condition CA 24-63.
Thank you, Taylor. Motion?
Second.
Second by Jana. All in favor, raise your right hand. Anybody opposed? Motion passes. We appreciate your comments. Thank you for being here. Takes us to item B on our agenda, the minutes. Please consider those from our November 20th regular meeting. And if you don't see any changes, I would entertain a motion to accept those minutes. Got a motion to accept.
Second.
Second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Takes us down to adjournment, and I'll call this meeting adjourned. Wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and thank you for your service tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean.
I would very much. Very much so. That turns so much. Lori?